growing up, you were always into graffiti, if I can say, if that's the right word?
Yeah. I like to be a purist, so I like to use graffiti instead of some of the other words that make more people comfortable. But graffiti is the art form that I started, and that's the one that brought me to an amazing stage in my life where I'm able to be self-sufficient and run a business.
Tell me about in the beginning when you were young, 13, in your teens or whatever, you were doing it the other way, but tell me how you were saying about how not necessarily the coolest because you tried different stuff, but I mean, go through that story because it's an amazing story.
Okay, so basically, as a kid, you're trying to find your identity. And now that I'm an adult, I can look back and kind of figure out how I went through that process. So you're young, you're not the coolest, you're trying to find out who you are. There's guys good at hockey, there's guys good at basketball. That wasn't my thing. A couple of my buddies started breakdancing. I didn't have much rhythm, Then I got into graffiti, and then when I started drawing graffiti, all of a sudden, the cool kids would be like, "Oh, don't touch him, he's cool." Or, the cute girl in class would ask you to draw her name, and, it really made you feel good.
So it just got you progressed to that, to find that thing that you love doing, and once you got it, it was good to go.
Yeah, you're kind of forcing people to acknowledge you. So you start writing your name around town, and next thing you know, everybody's like, "Oh, who's that guy?" And then they find out it's you, and they're like, "Oh, you're that guy?" And it's kind of uplifting when, in all reality, you're usually treated like a nobody.
Tell me about policing up there. I mean, this is up there, but I mean, when you were younger.
When you're younger, the police wouldn't ask you any questions. They just walk up, slap the can out of your hand, and rough you up. So I've said this before, but Graffiti Alley in Toronto, which is famous, it actually just won the Toronto Tourism Award for bringing money into the city. When I was 17, they arrested me and put me in Don jail. Yeah. So, and I actually had permission to paint the wall that I was painting, but they didn't ask any questions. They just grabbed me and roughed me up and brought me in.
When did it switch for you?
When society switched. I have maintained the same thing that I did. Even back then, I have newspaper clippings where the news advertiser and stuff has put me on the front page of the paper saying the same thing, that the graffiti is a great outlet, that when done properly, it could benefit the community. And then over probably the last 10 years, the community, society has now deemed graffiti art and street art, and now they find worth in it. So we've always had the same intentions, but now society now deems it art. So I just happen to be good at it at that stage, luckily, and now I get to benefit from that.
How long have you been working at Pine Ridge Vet Clinic?
This mural we've been doing for 3 days.
3 days, that's it.
That's the other good thing is, so when you're dealing with murals, you're dealing with bylaws, you're dealing with, you got to get, if you have pylons up or construction, you got to get notices. And so with the street art, we can get it done so fast that we can take it an entire wall in a matter of a day, 2 days, 3 days. A large mural like this will take roughly 4 days. Weather.
Yeah, weather depending.
Nice. Yeah.
Tell me about the train aspect, because when I got here, you weren't here. I thought you were on lunch, but I mean, it's interesting. We're working beside the pain.
Guilty pleasure. I like looking at the trains because you get to see the graffiti from all over North America, right? Some of it's crap, a lot of it's crap, but a lot of it's really good. So as the trains go, I'm trying to work, and then the train goes by, and I have to look at it because all of a sudden, there's so-and-so from Detroit. Oh, there's a famous artist from Vancouver or LA or Arizona. You start seeing the names on the trains, and
so you literally know these people that are doing this from all across North America.
Yeah, I know their work. So this is a whole subculture, right? And when you get into this, it's kind of like a wormhole, kind of like any subculture.
You were saying that some of these people are so famous so that they have corporations going after them.
Oh yeah, the corporations, with the name that we just saw go by, has done work with huge companies. And Banksy, the street artist Banksy that everybody knows, he's a perfect example. Like, his artwork, they're literally ripping the wall out of the building to keep his artwork. But then you're also having a fight back from other artists, because it's like, why does he get treated a certain way when there's 500 artists that are just as good as him, but he just happened to break through to the mainstream? But Banksy's interesting because it's like, I like his work. I think he's great. I'm not a big fan of like the 500 people that want to be him and they make a stencil and they use your artwork as their backdrop, you know? So street art kind of has no rules, but graffiti actually has unwritten rules. So there's kind of a disconnect between the street art and the graffiti. But Banksy is, everybody that talks about graffiti talks about Banksy. And it's like, imagine being an actor, you're passionate about acting, and everybody's like, oh, but you know Brad Pitt? Oh, but you know Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt. You're like, okay, you know?
Yeah.
But he's a good example of the one that really created the society to deem graffiti art.
So here's a question that might be different, but I mean, so do you worry when you complete a beautiful piece like this, do you worry that somebody might...
Yeah, so because I have a history in graffiti art, of all times the truck.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Because I have a history in graffiti art, I don't really worry about that because the kids know that I'm authentic. If this is the problem where some of the municipalities, hey,
It's all right,
No,
all
you
right,
can
come
come
on. Go ahead.
yeah, this is one of those things where some of the municipalities are hiring artists to do street art that have no street credit, and then the artwork's getting messed up. But somebody like myself, I don't have that issue because the younger kids respect it.
And that's what I mean, they should respect it.
Yeah, and as I make money with my business, what I do is I create legal spaces, and I work with the municipalities to create legal spaces so that the kids have a place to go. Because we're going to give them crap for doing it, but everything, our t-shirts, everything's co-signing graffiti as a cool thing, and everybody, like, there's movies on Netflix, even the Durham Regional Police cars have graffiti on it, but don't do it, right? If we create legal spaces, then it'll keep them busy, and you're always going to have a bad egg, but at least we created a space that they can be creative and have an outlet, you know what I mean?
The train going by, but you're educating me all about it.
I don't know what to say.
No,
I don't know what to say.
but it's like, it's a, you know what I mean? Like, it's just the knowledge. People have knowledge and you have the knowledge of it.
So trains are like, people all over North America paint trains, right? So when you see a train, every name is from somewhere else in America or Canada, right? So when you read them, if you know the styles, you can be like, oh, that guy's from Mexico. Oh, that guy's from LA.
But when this train was going by, you knew that it was, quote, a good train.
Well, it's not an intermodal. So an intermodal is where they like stack the China, and those are pointless, right? So this is a good train, meaning that you're gonna see a lot more paintings on this train due to the stock.
So it's like a fresh palette.
Not really. No, It's
Okay.
just a paintable palette. So even trains, like on the serial codes, if it has an X on it, then that means it's a rental car. It can go on any road. So where a CN stays on CN property, a CP stays on CP property.
That's wild.
It gets deep.
Yeah, that's wild.
But like when you're a bencher, like they call people that watch trains, or a foamer, you know these things. And it's like the models of cars too. It's not even about the paintings. It's the actual cars itself are cool. So you can see a car, there could be only 3 or 4 of them left in the world. A train car, like a specific model. And all the little hobby shops, they'll sell that train, but you want to see it in real life. So it's kind of cool that way.
Tell me about how you got Chad involved in this.
So I was born in Whitby, and I was downtown Whitby one day. I saw dry cleaners that had a great mural on the side of the wall, similar to this. It was very colorful, flowers, and I thought that's great. And it was a similar building to this too. It was just like a old cinder block building. And so anyway, I went into dry cleaners and said, "Who did this?" And they told me about Chad and the paint factory. So they actually then said, "Hey, if you walk around the corner, there's some more of his work on some other buildings in downtown Whitby." So I did, but theirs was the best of the dry cleaners, I will say. So that's how I came to find him. That was probably 2019. So I reached out to him that fall. We talked. I really liked him. Really positive, really enthusiastic guy. Really, really passionate about what he does. So we had planned to do it, but then COVID happened. And everyone knows that upended the world a little bit. So it took a while, but now things are settling again. So I reached out again, and yeah, here we are.
He's just about done, but what do you think of it?
Oh, it's perfect. It's wonderful. You know, we gave him basically free reign. I think I said to him, it's a vet clinic, so run with something to do with animals. But other than that, it's all him. It's all his design and his creation. But it's beautiful. I think everyone will drive by and smile. I mean, that was my goal when doing it, is come to work every day. You get out of your car, you see this, you're gonna be happy.
Tell me about and tell me why there was other stuff on this.
There was a little. It was down there. There was some tags, you know, similar to what's around the railroad tracks here in general. You know, railroad cars, I get it. It's popular. That's what people do. And we happen to have a business beside the railroad tracks. But yes, there was some tags on the building as well.